here. You ready, Chief?
We got 12 seconds left. Well, technically we might, but I don't know. Or we're 48 seconds
We're
late.
48 seconds late.
I'm not sure which it is. I can't see that far. My
Make
young
sure my
eyes
mic
are.
is on here.
I got
15:30.
31. We're late.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence.
Let's take a moment to remember the 2 firefighters and 14 police officers that have passed since our last board meeting.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, tonight's meeting was kind of a special meeting. We don't get one of these very often with the amount of people coming and goings as we are going to have tonight.
We have a full audience too, by the way, Mr. Chairman.
And they're all supportive, every one of them. Thanks for being here, everybody. With that said, we have the first order of business here is the introduction of new Sedona Fire District board members. We will have the oath of office, a ceremonial oath of office by the chief to
So-
the new board members.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, there's many requirements of board members as they come on after being elected. So the requirement of them taking an open meetings training online, they've done that. We actually swore them into office on, I think, December 2nd or something of that nature, 2nd or 3rd. And we're able to, get them officially sworn in. But as a honorary piece and a symbol here at a board meeting, we'd like to swear you all in at the flagpole here. So please join me at the flagpole. Just in time for the press. Perfect timing. Duly noted. Okay. You got raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. That was beautiful. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona. And that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same. And defend them against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties. And impartially of the office of governing board member. Of the Sedona Fire District. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. Welcome new board members, everybody. Thank you. When you're doing your nanu-nanu, I wasn't sure if you were done with the nanu-nanu. Welcome.
All right.
So public, this is our new board members that were recently elected and board chair. I will leave it to you if you have any other words to say or any other introductions to make for the board members if they'd like to say anything about who they are, where they're from possibly.
I think that would be appropriate as an official introduction of themselves to the rest of us and to the audience. Joy, if you'd like to begin with a bit of an introduction.
Okay, so my name is Joy Michelle Moore. I was with the fire district from 2004 to 2008. I was elected back then as well, and I served for 4 years. I was very happy to serve. This is a wonderful organization, and I've been to different fire districts around the country and police districts and so forth, and this is in the top 2. So I just wanted to say thank you for having me back, and I'm going to do the best that I can to make my constituents proud, as well as my fellow board members and all of the admin and first responders for the fire district. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. I'll ask you later who the other fire department is.
Yeah, me too.
Gene, how about yourself?
My name is Eugene McCarthy. I am elated to be here and thankful for the voters of Sedona that voted the 3 of us in. it was important. My background I bring to the Sedona Fire Board is a few years, 35, with LA County Fire, law enforcement background, the Los Angeles Police Department, but those are all years behind me. I bring enthusiasm and a willingness to work on behalf of our taxpayers within the community. And again, thank you very much to them.
Thank you, Gene. Al?
I would like to thank everybody who voted for us and for the entire community who we are here to support. I have been in Sedona for 20 years and have been involved in a lot of community activities, but this is by far the most important thing that I've been asked to do, and I take it very serious. And I know that this is a new environment for me with a lot of learning, a lot of understanding that I have yet to gain, but I am willing to be a good student and listen and discharge my duties to the best of my ability. And I must admit that I'm humbled to be here and feel that I can be a contributor in many ways to the Sedona Fire District, but I am so committed to the main purpose of emergency services. Every time I hear a siren, I know there's somebody in trouble, and I think that I am very proud to be part of helping to maintain the quality of services that we all expect. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Okay, with that said, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that attending the meeting this evening, our mayor, Sandy Moriarty, is out in the audience. So, Sandy, thank you for attending. Okay, next order of business here is we have our regular business portion of our meeting, and it is the election of board positions. And the first item up is the election of board chairman pursuant to ARS 48-0803E. And with that, I'll open it up to anybody who would like to nominate someone of the board.
Let's let's see if I can talk of laryngitis, but I would love to nominate you, Mr. Dave Soto, because you've been doing an exemplary job so far, and only more to come. I know it.
Well, thank you. I'll accept that.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Wait, we're not there yet, but hang on. Anybody else? Okay. With that said, then that'll be the motion to.
Yes.
I accept that nomination. We have a second?
I second that nomination.
Okay, thank you, Al. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of Dave Soto being the board chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. There it is. I got it. And these are after every general election, I believe, is the
Two-year
every
assignment.
2-year assignment.
Yep.
Hang on, here we go. Okay, following that, thank you. Following that, we have the discussion of possible action for the election of the board clerk pursuant to ARS 48-803E. Do we have any nominations for the board clerk?
Yes, I nominate Corey Cooperman as clerk of the Sedona Fire District Governing Board.
Okay, thank you. We show Corey Cooperman as clerk. You accept?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, accept that
Accept.
nomination. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
Then the motion being made that Corey Cooperman become the board clerk. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joy. Do I have any further discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? There it is.
Thank
Corey
you very
Cooperman
much.
is now the clerk. It's just that easy.
Now the pomp and circumstance starts. We've got a new chairman and a new clerk. Well, not really new, I guess. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chief.
And
And the
almost
crowd
so.
goes wild.
Yeah, party to follow, right? Okay, moving forward, public forum. Do we have any public comments?
I have not received any requests to address the board.
Okay, thank you. Executive staff response to public comments. There are none. The consent agenda, which is the regular meeting minutes for November, is the only item on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion on that? None? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this consent agenda is approved. Next item up is a financial report and updates, and that'll be, Chief, is that gonna be through Gabe or?
Gabe, we're gonna give him a call if you're
Oh.
ready for that.
Yes.
I think, looks like Carrie's working on the graphics that'll go with us, maybe, I think, I hope.
Gabe will be attending the meeting via the telephone here, and hopefully will have the presentation up on the board.
Gabe, this is Chris Kazian. You're on speakerphone in the meeting. Are you ready to talk?
I am ready to talk.
All right. We've got Carrie working on your board packet being pulled up, and we'll catch up to wherever you are, I guess. And I'll let you start. Board Chairman Dave Walbrook.
Okay. Hold on one second, Gabe. We're working on getting it up here.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready.
It's about 4 pages down from that one.
You got it over there, so. All right, can we get it up there, boss? I don't know why it's not doing it, but
Okay, well,
you got it over there.
can we scroll to the
Balance sheet.
balance sheets?
Do you guys have the PowerPoint?
Here we go.
You know, Chief, you can't leave until you get somebody wired in on this thing here.
The screen is black, so it's pitching something, but for some reason it's,
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not doing that, because that's not even choosing TV on that one.
It seems, Gabe, that the only screen we have is the smaller television screen as opposed to
Okay.
the big screen behind us.
Okay.
He said I can't retire until it's done, I'm gonna get it, trust me, I'm working on it, I'm out of here. You can get started if you want, Gabe.
Send you guys the JVG CIO. That thing up and running in no time.
Okay. Gabe, I think you could probably start with we have the November 2018 balance sheet, if you will, with all the graphics, the first one that traditionally comes up.
Okay. All right. So you guys should have the finance report, and hopefully we could kind of follow along. If not, I'll just talk through it, and if there's any questions that come up, I'd be happy to answer them. For the month of November, our total tax levy revenue was $2,097,000. We were over our historical projected collection by 517,000. On the non-levy side, total revenue was 150,228. We were under budget by 43,000. Big reason for that is ambulance revenue was down for the month of November. Personnel costs for the month were under budget by 54,618. And that kind of plays into the notification I sent to the board regarding kind of some of our savings that we're realizing this year due to unfilled positions and where some of those additional fundings for the transition on the chief will be coming from. Vehicles and equipment at 25,747. Utilities and communications pretty much right in line with budget there at 20,546. And managerial under budget at 62,523. Our capital expenditures was right at 23,052. And the majority of that was for was a debt service payment. Clicking over to the next slide, you should be seeing our year-to-date budget to actual. Our total revenue for the year is $8,909,914. And when you, on the finance report, actually, we kind of break it out a little bit more. And I do show that of that, 1,094,000 is non-levy revenues, which is over budget by 123,000. And year to date, that's trending over due to wildland, as well as our ambulance revenues. And then our non-levy revenue, our levy revenue is pretty much right in line budget, just about 28,000 under what we budgeted year to date on tax levy revenue. Total expenses are at $6,033,000. Our budget for year to date is 6.7, so we are 732,000 under budget. Personnel expenses being the largest percentage of that. Followed by vehicles and equipment under by 276,000. One thing to note as well is we do have some of our capital budget line item includes funding to that capital fund that we've tried to establish, or we did establish at the beginning of the budget year, that will allow us to have that level of funding to capital going forward. Percentage of expenses, year to date, we've expended 37% of the budget with 63% remaining. Our percentage, personnel being the highest at 84%, followed by operations and managerial at 6%, and capital and contingency at 4%. And then finally, our year-over-year cash position, we ended the month with just over $9.2 million in total cash. Compared to 7.7 last year. It is important to kind of note, though, of that 9.2 million, we're going to actually set aside just under 3 million, which is the 2.5 million plus roughly 300,000 in our capital fund to for and restrict for capital, which I plan on bringing a resolution to the board next month to actually restrict those funds for capital purposes going forward. And unless there's any other questions, that's the financial report for November.
Thank you, Gabe. Chief, there was an item in our packet that I don't know if we're going to talk about it later or you want to bring it up now as it relates to end of when one finishes their career and the payouts are there to create a fund for that.
Correct.
Is that something we want to bring up as it is on the agenda, or do you want to bring it up now with Gabe here?
I don't think it's on our agenda for this month. It'll be, I believe, on the agenda in the future.
Okay.
Maybe next budget or next meeting or beyond. Gabe, when were you thinking about bringing that to the board?
Yeah, I think what we could do is and kind of in that email I sent to the board this morning.
Right.
My intention with that EndLeave fund is to bring that up and incorporate that into our budget process this year.
Okay.
So while I do want to have a resolution setting aside the money next month at the January board meeting, the EndLeave fund I think could be part of our 2019-2020 budget discussion, much like we did with the capital fund.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll hold it till then. Thank you.
Copy that.
Okay, that's the financial report for November. Are there any further questions for Gabe or for the chief? No, with that said, I need a motion to approve the financials for the month of November 2018.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
By Corey. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the November financials? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the financials for November have been approved.
Okay, thanks so much for being on the phone. Tell Chief Upham congratulations on his retirement, and we miss you dearly here today.
All right, miss you guys too. Have a good day, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Gabe. Same to you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the staff items. Chief?
Forward in your packet, you have the chief's report as presented. I will go over it as I pull it up here. We're coming down. We're 11 months into the calendar year here on this report. Overall, we're trending about 80 calls over for the year. So I'm expecting we'll be close to 4,600 calls for the year. So we'll be up about 100 from last year. And so not substantial, but definitely an increase in service, which is probably kind of expected. You tend to see increases in calls over the year. I don't see anything substantial in my looking at, except for again the backcountry rescues at 14 for the month of November. Is a little bit on the higher side, but we're tracking 30% over in our backcountry rescue stuff, and kind of ebbs and flows. So. I was at a meeting the other day, and I got to meet the guy that you guys rescued from your search and rescue with a helicopter off of Thunder Mountain.
Right.
He was at a Rotary meeting for the Tuesday Club, and he's like, remember that meeting we had with the search and rescue folks that were here a couple months ago? That was our last meeting. And funny, after meeting him, I met him I was the one on the mountain at night when the helicopter was there. So he sent his appreciation for
Got it.
search
Thank
and
you.
rescue has done. We weren't on that call, but anyway. Other than that, I think the call summary is the call summary as I see it, and I'm not prepared to present anything else on that, except for I'd like to talk about the 90th percentile, which we continue to look at. And so, at one point in time it was 12 minutes and 26 seconds, 12 minutes and 37 seconds one month, 12:10 another month. The last couple of months have been trailing down, and this month our 90th percentile, meaning 90% of our calls, emergency responses we were on scene within 9 minutes and 41 seconds for this month, averaging 10 minutes and 40 seconds for the entire year. And so I just like Chief Qualla maybe just say a couple words on that 90th percentile and where that's at and where we're trending or where we might expect to be overall. And we didn't do a whole presentation, but just noticing the numbers.
So one of the things that we've done over the past, it's been about 6 months, is started to get the response times or the turnout times in front of the crews, and to standardize the expectations for when they'll check responding. As we look at these numbers, so we have that raw data piece, which is pretty much all the calls, and then we have the calls that we've identified for the inclusion criteria, which are the ones that are urgent calls, and then we have so of that sample, and we have the ones that fall within that 90th percentile, and then what we've been doing is focusing on those outliers and addressing the reasons why those outliers may exist. There's a number of different of the covariates that could be the reason why those outliers exist. So one by one, we're trying to kind of normalize that information and then look for ways that we can improve things. So happy to say that when it comes to turnout times, some of the different, the variation between the different stations and between different shifts and response time, that is closed and is normalized significantly since we started getting those numbers out in front of the crews, and since we've introduced a standard for how to report that time. So that allows us to now look at some of the other different reasons, going backwards towards dispatching, then going forward towards traffic, time of day, dispatch information, the acuity of the call based on the information that goes out, and begin to work on that to see what improvements can be made. So we're still anchored into that 90th percentile, but instead of just looking at it as a standalone number, we're kind of using that as the benchmark to do further research on the calls that fall beyond that and continue to improve.
So Chief, just for a basic understanding, from the time that a call comes in to the time that a company gets on scene, is that the overall?
Yeah, they call it
Consideration?
the total reflex time. And is this total reflex time?
I believe it is, actually.
Okay, so
I
there's
think it is.
there's two different ways to report it, and that's and there's the total reflex time, and there's a time from time of dispatch to which is the total response time. So I'll make sure that I don't want to misspeak. I'll make sure that this is the total reflex time that's being presented here.
Yeah, 'cause I think that's one of the things that we look at or we consider when we see this is that, are we talking about the time from the bells ring to the time on scene? Does that include the time that the dispatcher talked with somebody on the phone? Because that's the clock's ticking, you know, so it's that overall picture we're looking at, or is it just the dispatch time to the on-scene time?
And I believe that this is total reflex time.
Okay.
The way it doesn't call it the same thing in the program we use, so I want to make
Right.
sure.
Okay.
But and we do also in our monthly meetings with dispatch, they focus in on just the metric that relates to the call from the time that call's received until the time that they dispatch it, and we're continuing to follow those trends as well. Make sure that continues to improve.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, I noted on a couple of occasions where I was in the area, Pulse Point, a notification through Pulse Point, whether it be a structure fire or medical rescue, what have you. And the time that I received it on my phone here and the time the units were toned out seemed to be a little long. Do you have any comments about that?
That your observation is accurate, that there has been a difference between the time that the CAD sends the alert to us through our normal system and what Pulse Point does. And actually, Jeremy Harris and Josh Wells, who from the Pulse Point side and from the CAD side, have been looking at the reasons for that. One of the concerns that we have is that if there's certain redundancies that are built into our system, ensure that it's always stable. If those are adding a couple seconds, but we have a higher likelihood of it always working properly, then we can. That's probably something that we can accept. But if there's no added value that the information is always going to be transported or transmitted, and yet we're losing time, then we need to identify the why there. So I can make a note of that, and by next board meeting, I can make sure that I have an answer as to what they found out regarding that. But you're absolutely right.
Thank you, Chief.
And so, Mr. McCarthy, if you also, and Jason, if you the Pulse Point is a mechanical computer dispatch piece.
Yes.
So as soon as the dispatcher puts in that address, the type of call, the computer is already sending that information out. The dispatcher at that point is making sure that they know which station it's at, which station is available. That Pulse Point is not doing all that. So that information can go out faster onto the Pulse Point because of the protocols and the data that's being transmitted versus the dispatcher needing to know, hey, this is a Station 4 call, but they're all tied up on an accident at Mariposa right now. So what's the next unit? Oh, that's going to be Station 3. Well, if it's Station 3 that's not normally there and their buttons need to light up and need to hit the screen and decide which units they're going to send and things like that, all that's manually being done by the dispatcher, which takes time. At the same time, the calls coming in, the more information's happening, things like that. So while it's beautiful in the Pulse Point being faster, they're just two separate systems. And I just shared with Chief Coyle a system that does things like this, that doesn't, it takes the dispatch side out of it and shoots out the call through a computer dispatch, cutting off minutes on dispatch time. And so, there's a system that can dispatch us that way as well, like Pulse Point. There's significant cost. There's a regionalization approach that needs to occur for us to make that happen if that's what we're going to do. But so we're looking at that as well. But they are distinctly two different pieces. And so while I understand the frustration or the understanding, I've heard that from numerous people. If there's mechanics and human factors going on, it just takes time for those human factors to happen where the computer can.
Thank you, Chief, for the clarification, and Chief Coyle. There are many, perhaps many residents who have opted to select the app for their phones for Pulse Point. And so this clarification, I think, is meaningful for me and for the people who are watching.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So board, further on the chief's report, you'll see that the incident response by station continues to, for the most part, be the same distribution. Time of day continues to meet the bell curve of which it happens. Community risk management, anything, John, you want to share at least on any of your data or points?
Sure. We have a number of notable projects that are going on within the district right now. Two of them that are in the active construction stage are the Element Hotel and the storage facility right next to it down in the village. In fact, I just saw I got the elevator plans today for the Element Hotel. They're probably, it's mostly framed. I would assume that the sprinkler system is going to be going in the next few weeks. We've got a couple of projects that are in the conceptual stage, the El Rojo Grand west of town on the old ranch out there, looking at around 650 manufactured home sites. And also I just saw an updated conceptual plan for another hotel in the village at Jack's Canyon and 179. I saw the original conceptual plans for that about a year and a half ago, so we'll see if this one goes anywhere. We also have all of the training has been completed for the company inspection program. All of those have been assigned to the engine companies, and due to the fact that it's their first go around and we've got the holidays coming up, I just spoke with Captain Wassel today. He has given them until the end of January to get the first round done. So next month we may have a few of those back in. We'll see. Anyway, they're out and they'll be starting.
We're moving forward with the company fire prevention
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
Okay, good. All right, it's good to hear.
Good job.
That's all I have.
And on top of that, we do have another hotel that was approved by the city, I believe, recently as well, right next to the courtyard.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, that's
actually
right. That's
going,
another one.
beyond.
That's
So-
correct. I'd forgotten about that one.
So lots of stuff going on in the Sedona Fire District, and so for us that really means a lot as it relates to, you know, the assessed value and future growth and things like that. So that's, you know, positive. There's I don't know how many housing permits and things that continue to go up. It's everywhere you're looking. There's another new house going up. It's continuing. So it will stop at some point. We have our realtor here now that can help fill us in on how that's going. But
It's a seller's market.
So good stuff there. On the training information report, you know, we're proud to announce that Mark Feeney, Joe Diaz, and Sandy Graywall just completed their 6-month probation. So those are our 3 newest firefighters that are already 6 months on the job. Actually, now they're almost 7 months probably is the way it's going now. So time flies when you're having fun. I saw Joe was here helping with the Toys for Tots that were donated this afternoon. So things are going well, doing well, and great stuff to report that people are tracking with their process. We did send our mechanic, Jody Fowler from the office, and our volunteer Lance Waldrop to an RTA fleet maintenance workshop, a software training, and things went really well there. And so we're looking at implementing that software here and really getting an idea of how we manage our fleet. Again, a continual improvement process, and very excited about that software and what it will do for us. And so Lance continues to be a very active volunteer, helping out on the scene or on the in the office doing stuff, but also attending a conference and taking care of some cool business. We had a crisis intervention preparation recovery class, and so Ed, Chief Mazulis was part of that. We actually had that's one that Amy attended as well, I believe. So one of our admin staff attended to get some training and helping with the crisis counseling piece. So we're continuing to expand that important part of our job. And then I think the rest are just kind of some cool stuff that's been happening around here. So I'll leave it at that. some nice thank you notes, as we always get each time. I don't know if there's any, anything notable, other than we continue to do great things. And I think in the shadow of the Paradise, of the campfire in Paradise, California, we continue to get an increased awareness and understanding of where we are with wildfire and the dangers and all those things. It just continues to make that such an important part of what we're doing in the preparedness piece. So I've had lots of conversation with the public, with some of our partners in the county and the city and other places about where that's at. And I just heard a report last night that in the Sierras, they have 4 times the number of trees that are supposed to be in the Sierra. So, I mean, just put that in, I don't know what that means in perspective of the number of trees, but if it's 4 times, if this is accurate, I mean, I don't know if the news story was accurate anymore, I don't know what you can believe anymore, but it seemed accurate. So, the story just talked about the importance of understanding that we need to thin the forest, but along with thinning the forest has to be prescribed burning to go along with it. And so I know, I thought I shared with you guys an email, I thought I did, a link to, that California area has just spent like $4.5 million. LA County Fire, I think, is spending $4.5 million trying to study this and get it, trying to get, not even ahead of this, but trying to get, their hands on this thing and understand where it's at. It's a new dimension. It's a new, and I don't think it's going away anytime fast. And so we're working hard on our end to do what we can do here at Sedona Fire District to be as prepared as we can, but it's not a light switch fix at all.
Chief, LA County Fire has a division, a forestry division, and that manages the forest areas in conjunction with both state and national forest. And you're absolutely right. The thinning of the forest has been in abeyance for years, and the problem is that the duff, that's the material that falls from the trees, the pine needles and the pine cones and the branches and so on, has been building up for years. And the thinning of a forest also means removal of duff. And that's, if you ever put a bunch of pine cones in your fireplace, you can kind of understand how quickly and the volatility of that fire. So difficult to manage when they're so close together.
Fire Marshal, are we recommending we put pine cones in your fireplace?
No, we wouldn't
Practice.
recommend that, or burning your wrapping paper on Christmas morning. It's a good way to start a flue
Good
fire.
point.
So be careful, but you would definitely
Yeah.
experience some potential ill effects of how fast fire can move.
Absolutely.
So they do make some nice scented ones, though. I have seen that can give you a nice aroma if you'd like that effect. So, but use caution. Other incidents in the district, I don't know if there's anything specific, Chief Coyle, as far as large incidents or anything specific, fires. I don't remember any in November that we had of any significant. We have had a couple different car accidents. I know we had one, a truck accident on 179 on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, if I'm not mistaken, that really caused some significant challenges to traffic and things like that. Wasn't a significant accident per se in and of itself, but the accident did cause quite a backup. We certainly had a significant accident here today on 89A at Mariposa that caused some delay. Chief Coyle very eloquently landed a helicopter on the middle of 89A. And, well, he didn't really land it, he just was on the radio, but it sounded like he landed it. It was good stuff.
Probably did most of the work.
You think?
So, that is that. Toys for Tots, I just really want to acknowledge our team. We collected Toys for Tots at all of our stations, all of our crews and personnel and our administrative staff and some of the board members, including today. We got a large donation here, I believe, by Joy Moore today that dropped off a significant
My
amount of
parents.
toys. And your parents, I'm sorry, I don't want to discount the parents. And so we'll get those over to Toys for Tots ASAP, because I know they're collecting and getting those distributed. And so we were actually collecting toys at the Safeway and Clark's over the weekend. I know a board member or two might have been out at that, as well as some staff members. And we collected over $2,000 worth of cash donations and 157 toys, and I forget how many stocking stuffers, something, 54, 56 stocking stuffers they call them, 11 books. So very important about those 11 books you got to read on Christmas as well. So, but very proud of our staff who did some really great work to help support that. Tyler Wu specifically is our lead person who heads this up every year, and really want to take a shout out to say great thanks to Tyler Wu for the work he does to wrangle the cats to get us all to get it done, and Jody for helping, facilitate at the front desk, and then all those that help in between. So good stuff there. Annual banquet is January 12th, so mark your calendars and plan for a great evening. I know it's in the works, and Heidi's got that moving and grooving, so anything else on that we need to know about?
Not at this time.
All right, be there or be square. AFTA conference, July 17th to the 19th. We moved our board meeting accordingly for that, so remember next month will be January 8th is our board meeting. I know Mr. Camillo has mentioned he will not be able to make it for a loss in his family, so condolences to your family. But January 8th is the time and place for the next board meeting to accommodate the AFTA conference. Those of you that are going, it's fun, it's great. We can get you an SCBA if you need to work through the smoke. And,
Don't do it.
don't do it.
Can I mention something as like a rewind?
Sure.
I just wanted to let everyone know that every time we get a thank you card, there's about 100 that want to be sent, and they just never get around to it. We're beloved by pretty much everybody in this town because we have the best crew, we have the best first responders, and unfortunately I know that firsthand. So I just wanted everyone to know that, as well as I keep on getting calls whenever there's a prescribed burn, and I'd like to know if we can be informed when there's prescribed burns, so I can let the public know.
So yes, I'm gonna turn this over to Chief Coyle because this is right up his alley.
Okay.
We do our best,
Yeah.
Board Member Moore, to do that when we get notified where we are. Sometimes they're burning in Williams, and I,
Yeah.
don't think much about them burning in Williams affecting us, and the wind shifts, and then it's all on top of us, and, we're not near a phone or near next door, and, whatever. It's,
Yeah.
So we do our best, but I'll see if Chief Coyle's got any better solutions to how we can message.
No, I think you're right. It's important for us to get that message out. I mean, number one, people want to know, and number two is it prevents nuisance calls from taking engines out of position if somebody thinks it's something that's more proximal to their homes. Both the Coconino National Forest and the Kaibab National Forest have fewer information officers than they are allocated right now, and they're working to correct that problem. And with that, there's been a backload of information, and some of the stuff, especially when it comes to pile burning, hasn't taken place. And the other key component of that is that the smoke that we had most recently in the upper part of the canyon was actually from burns that were taking place on state lands.
Oh.
And so, but I will remind state lands and then the two forests how important it is to get the information out on prescribed fires to us that may impact us, just so we can make sure and push that information out.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate that.
I think it's the balancing of that message. So if we, my challenge is that when we put that out every single time, and then we don't get the smoke because the wind's going the other way or whatever, then people are like, oh, whatever. So and then if we say we got smoke coming, and then someone, oh, it must be the smoke from here, and it's really it's just a really
Yeah.
interesting balance, and we work really hard at it. I know John, being our PIO, works at it. Our battalion chiefs are constantly trying to manage it. We use Facebook as our primary message, but then, someone's calling, I didn't see it on Nextdoor, so we gotta get it on Nextdoor. There's just,
Right.
I wanna tweet this, I don't follow Facebook, and whatever. And you just have, it's a task, and I know we've had some dialogue with Mr. McCarthy as it relates to some of our social media and some of our, PR stuff. As a side note, we no longer are using our PR firm that we were using before, which is more for, not for this type of messaging that we're using them for anyway, but where we might be able to be better at managing some of our social media and doing things. It's just we've got 1,000 things going on, and social media is one of them. And sometimes once we open that door, the Pandora's box, we are getting emails and phone calls, and then we don't answer them, and then it's
It's a delicate balance.
yeah. So we do our best, but I do appreciate the comment, Board Member Moore, as it is important for us to be better at that, or be the best we can be. Buzz, I just got delegated to battalion chiefs. PIO, battalion chief, smoke. When there's smoke in the air, you're on. There you go. See, Jason, taking care of you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you,
Certainly.
Chief Coyle.
Board, that's all I think I have for my chief's report, unless you have any other questions about the chief's report.
Just item number 4.
Oh, sorry, yes, I'm sorry. Mandatory board training. Just you, Board Member Moore and Chief Coyle went to the mandatory training in November 30th, I believe it was, down in Phoenix. So I just wanted to give you a chance. Is there anything you wanted to say about the training you had or the opportunity? You don't have to, but if I just...
Well, it was very good. Our esteemed attorney was there, and he, has lightened up over the years. So it was actually, it was pleasant and it was funny every now and then. And so people were paying more attention to the message because of his ability to crack a joke now and then. So and information was really good to have. It was a good refresher and some things that were new. So I was glad, and I was glad that Chief Coyle was there as well. It made it more pleasant. So.
Chief Coyle, anything you want to add? I'm sure it was a day that you enjoyed thoroughly, as I recall you telling me.
No, it was important for me to hear it from start to finish, especially when it came to the fiduciary responsibility of the board, and the different protocol pieces to make sure that I'm doing my part to keep everything within the sideboards. So no, it was certainly worthwhile.
Definitely a lot to learn there as it relates
Yeah.
to open meeting laws, which do change over time, the ethical piece, the fiduciary responsibility piece. There's a lot to it. So so thank you for going. I know the other 2 members, you have 12 months to get that done from the time of being seated, I believe, or elected. I forget what it is, but I believe you're both going to January to Laughlin, so you'll get that mandatory training and enjoy that.
I've been told to bring my fishing pole.
I don't know. There is a little river there, I guess, but. Anyway, so that's all I have then for my board report.
Thank you, Chief. And also, just make sure the staff knows that we do thank them for all their work. Toys for Tots, the banquet conference, and all that goes along with it. Thank you, and make sure that the staff gets that message, that we do appreciate it, all the work that went into it. Next item up on the agenda is the discussion possible action for the agreement for finance clerk services with the James Vincent Group. Chief, you have any comment on that?
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay.
Board, I apologize. I'm looking at your packet, and we did not apparently attach, meaning I did not send, is to be clear, the actual proposal, and I apologize for that. We've been without our finance specialist, 3, who's worked here for about 12 years, left our organization about 3 months ago, maybe? In August, so whatever that is. So 3.5, 4 months. And so we've operated without that position. James Vincent Group has stepped up and tried to help us in a contractual, hour-by-hour type arrangement. And we've been trying to determine whether or not we needed to hire and replace that person. If we needed to replace that person, in what capacity would they serve? Where are our strengths and weaknesses in the organization? Or do we contract with James Vincent Group to provide this additional service? So this is in addition to their finance director. This is an additional proposal. Staff has reviewed the expectations. We've worked with James Vincent Group over the last 3.5 months now. Well, we've had some challenges. They're not in with JVG so much, as they've been a little bit really identified as our accounting software and such are a challenge. And so staff has looked at this, and we recommend that we actually transition to James Vincent Group at $2,500 a month to provide these services. In the proposal here talks about the cost savings. So, we're talking about saving, where is it here? Do you have that email?
Just above the pros and cons.
You can help me out and just tell me what it is. $67,000. So we I believe we can save approximately, with roll-up costs and things of that nature, about $67,000 from where we were with the finance specialist 3 position. We have some changes in some software that we want to make and do that will help streamline our operation to make us more effective. Those probably actually have cost savings net.
That total savings includes
That's included. that includes a software
Oh.
change. That's why Heidi's here. You were supposed to talk about this. What's going on? And so anyway, so that's what we recommend. I don't know that I need to go through much more unless you have any questions specifically, but you get to see James Vincent Group and the work that they do. Their staff, they continue to hire additional staff to handle the workload so that we continue to get the service we expect. And I actually fully believe that many of our challenges that we have or had are with the current software we have and or some of the implementation of new software as we're getting used to that on the heels of also losing our finance specialists. So with those things all norming out and then with the bringing of the new software, I think we'll actually balance that out quite nicely and any of the bumps will be smoothed out accordingly.
Chief, the question I have for you is, which firm, if you will, does our audit?
Audit is Walker Armstrong.
Okay, so it is not this one,
No.
then there wouldn't be a conflict of interest
Oh, no.
now that they're,
No, and James Vincent Group does this kind of full service, start to finish type stuff for about 2 or 3 other agencies, I believe. So some they don't do the financial director part, but they do this financial accounting part. Some they do just the financial directing and not the accounting. Some they do both. So they've got a lot of experience doing different examples of this model here in different formats. So comfortable that this is a tried and true method.
and will this also bring personnel into our offices periodically, never? How does that work? I mean, are we gonna see a body here assisting us or what?
Yes, so previously in the financial director role, Gabe or a member of James Vincent Group would come for our board meetings, and then one or another member would come one other time during the month to process accounts payable, do some check signing and things like that, go over problems in accounting, go through bank account registers and things like that. And then the rest they would do remotely. So with them taking over more of a role, we've kind of divided up some of the basic accounting here in the office and doing a lot of the platforms online. And then they're making now a total of 3 visits a month instead of the 2 previously. And they're feeling pretty flexible about that as well, that they can increase that number as needed if we have an increase in volume, if we have an increase of issues or problems, then they're certainly willing to add another visit. But right now it's planning to be here for our board meeting, a full day of accounting, and then 2 other accounting days throughout the month.
So can I ask if they're going to up the visits and so forth for increased production or whatever is going on, are they going to contractually keep that same price, $2,500 a month?
That is what we kind of did a test of that these past few months, and they feel comfortable with this price, that if they think they need to make another visit, then that's going to be part of our contract
Right.
terms. It will be because they feel it's necessary to come, not because
Right.
we're demanding it and increasing their price.
Well,
So it would stand at that invoice price.
Well, let me just ask one more question. Have we confirmed that they have the proper safeguards to keep our data private?
Absolutely, yes.
Because that's my main concern.
So they've been the financial director role for the last 2 years, and so
Oh,
fully
okay.
compliant with all of those
Oh, good,
pieces, so a
okay.
much higher level role.
Right.
And now we're just adding kind of that backfill of the basic accounting principles. They're gonna take care of that role for us as well, under
Okay.
all of the same kind of guidelines and protections.
Okay.
Thanks for
That's
asking.
good. Thanks. Thank you.
Last question for me is, what do we do with staff that is currently working in that office? Do they get reassigned somewhere else, or we're not letting anybody go?
So they're taking over the role and the duties that were performed by the accounting specialist 3, which was Pam
Right.
Lester. So when she exited, we took, kind of dispersed her role
Mhm.
amongst the staff here, just for paperwork. And then JVG, that entity, was handling all the processing. So the processing of accounts payable, most of our receivables, doing some of the journal entries and register accounting. That's being done behind the scenes. They took over the general ledger that Pam would have been handling, and then it left us to do, we need to do physical deposits. We need to perform the actual receiving of the mail, disseminating it for approval and getting it loaded. We're using a software program that many of you are familiar with as you log in called bill.com, and that's how we're paying our bills. So we're scanning our bills into that system, and it goes through a series of approvals based on department. And once it gets to a level of being paid, one of our board members will log in and pay those bills, reviewing a packet much as you would have when you sat at the desk before and looked through all of that paperwork. Now it's just all online, and you're looking at it that way, signing your approval for the checks, and they go out that way. So a lot of the physical paperwork, a lot of the physical actions aren't happening here at Sedona Fire anymore. They're happening either online, behind the scenes, or with JVG. So there's pushing of paperwork around. There's a lot of clerical work. So that's the position that later on in the communication that explains we might need to come forward and revisit. Is this overwhelming for the staff for us to be able to move on with other projects? We think right now, yes, but we want to identify what kind of a position we want to hire that's best for the district and the office as a whole.
So, so then with that said, the young lady who works in the office now, she just will be absorbed elsewhere, or she will
So-
continue doing what she does?
So Branda is the one who sits in that office. Branda Brothers is our payroll and benefits specialist, and her role is unchanged. And so it's
Okay.
her physical location in the office with Pam that might be a little confusing, but her role is unchanged as the payroll and benefits specialist, and she'll remain there among piles of paper for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. As part of that, I guess we're looking for a motion to approve that, to move forward with it, correct? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Firstly, I'd like, so far with JVG, we've experienced a good professional services for over quite some time now. So to me, this seems like a good marriage, a good addition to what they're already doing. And with that, I move to approve the agreement for finance clerk services with JVG for $2,500 a month as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Let's do it.
Or just, and to reiterate that there's a 30-day out clause, so if at any point in time we are not happy with the services, or we find that there's another piece to this, we have 30-day notification, so it's not a big deal. And I just wanted to follow up on what Heidi mentioned, is that, with that savings that we're realizing and other savings we've made, I just want to make clear that there are needs the organization has, and we've been working to identify those. And so, we will be before you at some point in time, probably in the budget process, most likely, to talk about some opportunities for us to be doing other things that are not getting done and things like that. So, while it's great to have these savings, we are probably not being as efficient or effective as we can be, because we have overloaded a lot of people to do a lot of things, and we want to be, now that we know where like described something, now we know where the holes are, we can, patch those. We need to do it with the right type of person, the right assignments, and so we'll be before you at some point.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, these are board member items. We have a discussion, possible action, or staff direction for the scheduling of a board workshop in February.
So, Board, if you recall, last year we did a workshop, and you were all so excited on how well it went. It was loads of fun, and we spent about a whole day here, if I recall, and covered lots of ground, to get a lot of familiarity with some of the things we do, and had an opportunity in a workshop setting to just function, ask questions. We had some definite framework we wanted to accomplish. I don't know if there's any new objectives that you would like to see as a board. I know we have two new board members ultimately. One with past experience, one with other experience at other boards. But at the end of the day, things have changed since 04, and things are different on this board compared to others essentially. So we are happy to do that. We need to pick a date, and then if there are any other topics specifically, get those to staff, or we can talk about it at the January board meeting, so we can put that together. And I believe that Chief Coyle and Heidi will be honored and excited to spend the day with you. And we usually have our attorney present. Gabe is usually present, so we do have some scheduling needs with neither of them here today to know what their schedule is, to pick that date. So we might ask that we have 2 or 3 dates that might work if you are so inclined, or we can pick 2 or 3 dates that work for them and go the reverse route, and you can get back to us.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you guys are able to look at your calendars, I'm pretty good. But I do want to make a point that although the board has gone to required training, whether it's Phoenix or Laughlin, what our board workshop does is it takes some of those same topics and allows those instructors or topic to be given directly to us, to kind of personalize it and how it reflects and how it affects our job here for the community of Sedona. So it's extremely beneficial, and I got a lot out of it, and I look forward to the next one coming up. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe the third week of February, if that is a better to do more of a span to allow the other players to look at it. You won't be here. Looks good to the chief, but Chief Coyle, take a look at your calendars.
Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, we do.
So there's a board meeting on the 19th.
Right.
Okay.
Oops.
The 18th is President's Day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, rather than sit here and waste time, maybe we can email Carrie some dates, and then you can get back to us, and we could figure out what works best for all of us.
I guess what I would just ask that if there was does that second week work, or is there a day in the second week that doesn't work, so we can work with Gabe and Bill and find out what their availability is on that second week, or you want the third week, or you want the fourth week. That would be only, if there's, I'm out of vacation that week, that would help us not
Yeah.
waste anyone's time.
Yeah.
The
The second week seems good.
second week would
I
sound,
think she
you know,
said the second week is good. I think I'm gonna translate that.
Poor thing.
Actually, that's
Valentine's
better
Day.
for me also. Third week, I have conflicts.
Okay,
Oh,
second week, okay?
yeah. 1, 2. I say we do it on Valentine's Day.
I think it's a great idea, Board Member Moore. I think it's beautiful.
Second week meeting
Um,
February 11th.
What's that?
In that area,
the
February
11th
11th.
Right, so
through-
Carrie will look with the two professionals to see what their availability is, and we'll try to find a date that works.
Okay.
Typically, we start about 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:30, whatever that plan is, so, and then we'll just see what the agenda consists of and where we want to go, but typically, we're going till about 2:30-ish.
2:30, 3
something,
o'clock, yeah.
3 o'clock-ish is, what we've done at least last year, and I would strongly suggest that while some maybe repeat, it's always good refresher,
Oh,
but you'll very easily be able to take a look at where we are in the strategic plan in some depth. You'll be able to talk about some of those, goals as we're looking into the new budget year, where things are at in that workshop, and then just reemphasize where we're trying to be at as an organization, and where your roles as the board are and stuff like that. So I think
okay.
that looks good.
Yeah, so that second week is probably what we'll lean towards for February. Okay? So as soon as you guys find out, email Carrie and we'll.
Okay.
soon
I'm
as-
clear the whole week, so whatever works for everybody else.
Me too.
Okay, next item on the agenda. We have the discussion, possible action, or staff direction for the adoption of the 2019 board meeting calendar. In the packet, it shows the whole calendar. If you guys could take a look.
Yep.
I suppose, Chief, this is the one that you usually speak on these.
Sure. If you, we just looked at the calendar. All those are the third Tuesday of the month, as we normally meet, with the exception of July. Or no, is that it's like the third also? But just remind that there's a combined conference that's likely the second. We don't know if the dates aren't out yet. Usually it's the second week of. What was it? The 15th. So the 16th might fall on that Arizona Fire Chiefs Conference, which is a typical joint Fire Chiefs Fire District Conference, which might draw some of your attendance. So you may want to just decide, do you want to push that to the 23rd and call it good?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you good with that?
Yeah, I'd like to attend that conference, so the 23rd works for me.
Yeah, works for me.
So we'll push the July 16th to July 23rd.
Correct, if that's what you'd like to do. Then if you do note, at the November, you guys took the liberty of moving that Thanksgiving week meeting to the week before. If that suits your fancy,
Sure.
is perfectly fine. The hard part when we move these meetings forward a week is it just creates the financials come in on the 10th and things like that. So, it's going to be tight to get the financial packet to you early. Some of the call volume and things are getting finalized, but, just we seem to work through that as best we can. So next month we have on the 8th, so that'll be even
Earlier.
more challenging.
Yeah.
So if that's your desire as well, then I would recommend you make a motion or at least have consensus. I guess make a motion to adopt the 2019 Fire Board meeting with the amendment of July 23rd
Okay.
date.
All right, anybody like to make that motion?
I move to adopt the proposed 2019 Sedona Fire District Board meeting calendar as discussed, with the July 23rd taking place of the July 16th.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, we accept that. That motion carries for the calendar. The next item on the agenda is we have the vote to go into executive session on personal matters pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1 in regards to the appointment of Jason Coyle as the interim fire chief for legal advice, and also onto ARS 38-431.03A3 in regards to the same. With that, I'll make the motion to go into executive session at this time for those items. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any opposed? Excuse me, any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
A correction with ARS 38-431, 03A, parens 2, as opposed to 3.
Okay, mine shows 2.
Where's that?
Okay. 2, but you said 3.
Okay, thank you. So noted. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, okay. This board will go into executive session. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to stay, you're more than welcome to. We're looking at what, about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, perhaps?
Perhaps. I'm not sure how long it'll take, but it could be fast. I'm not
It could be
sure.
quicker, but you're welcome to stay and wait, but we'll be back.